Okay, Shay, you know, it's my favorite time of the day when we do our script with Dr. Love.
I got my shoulders out today. This is a rare occasion.
Oh, excuse me, sexy shoulders. Hey, can I get a little shimmy? Hey.
I don't know why I chose this shirt. I was like trying to do a fancy shirt, but none of my clothes fit anymore because I'm a little bit past my normal weight, but it's all good.
Nice and sexy though. Ow.
Yeah.
So today I want to talk. I feel like we're like joking, but we're about to get serious like real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk and get your advice as Dr. Love to talk about respect in relationships. I think is something that should be taken seriously. And I know people who are in relationships and there's a lack thereof. And there's times too that I struggle just because I'm very opinionated, that I have to remember that men require and need respect. So I wanted to get your advice on it.
So when I think about respect, I think about receiving it, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then also giving respect. But respect begets respect. So
yeah,
you have to always, if you want respect, you have to always make sure that you're respecting others, right?
Absolutely.
And
so what does that look like? Let's dig into that a little bit.
Yeah. What is respect, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to come from a man standpoint, like a man to woman standpoint.
Let's do both, because I think it's important for no matter who you're in a relationship with, your significant other, your partner, your lover, your spouse, you have to respect. So let's look at it from a woman's standpoint and from a man's standpoint. I think it's both important.
So I would say like woman to man or in a relationship, right? Or anyone in a relationship. Let's just say that humans in a relationship. Yes, in a romantic relationship. Let's just say that. Let's start there because that's really what our show was. What we talk about is love, and it's Dr. Love right now. So
Dr. Love,
how you speak to your significant other or the person that you're dating or the person that you're with in public, you have to be cognizant of that, right?
Absolutely.
When you're frustrated, when things don't go the way you want them to go, how you're speaking to that person in front of other people, you need to make sure that you're always respecting that person, right? Because that is almost like your way of showing that person that you're going to protect them when you're outside of the private space, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's the number one thing for me, and something that I also had to learn, right? Like me and my significant other, we play around, and sometimes we play around in public, but people don't know. So I have to sometimes remember that, right? And how he's perceived based on what we do at the house or whatever, right? So that's always something that is at the top of mind, especially when I have now a union, in terms of like where we're going in life and learning how to say we instead of I. That was something that was difficult for me too, because I'm usually used to doing things on my own, right?
Yeah.
So respect is how I speak about that person to other people as well when I'm outside of the home, right? We, us, what we're doing, where we're going. So that is our communication to the world. That's respect, and we both are cognizant of that. We both talk about that, right? Like having to change our vocabulary when we're speaking to others.
So being mindful of how you speak to one another, especially in public spaces. And
yes.
I think I also hear you saying the importance of listening to one another.
Yes.
So it's not just about how do you be mindful of how you talk to your significant other, but also being mindful that you have to listen. That's just an important part of communication.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you are a huge proponent of that. So yes, exactly. And I think now behind closed doors, there's also another element, right? Sometimes people can do a good job of respecting a person outside of the home or speaking to a person, in a manner that is, communicative and people can recognize that and like, oh, but then there's sometimes when you go inside the home, sometimes it's different, right? Like there's a power structure depending on how the home is, how you guys communicate about what you're doing. I don't know, depending on if you living together or if you're just at each other's houses, but like respecting someone's private space, right? Respecting people's time. Sometimes people need time alone to decompress, to, you know, maybe the day was very heavy.
Oh, I like that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
because let's dig into that a little bit, because especially for couples or that live together, having that time just alone is important, because sometimes you want to be like up under your other person, but everyone needs time to decompress.
Respect the space.
How do you do that? What does that look like in your relationship with Feast?
Yeah, so I would say for us, I would say it was about learning each other's mannerisms, right? Studying each other and seeing what we need that we're not communicating, right?
Okay.
Like Nafis, he tends to be more quiet when he needs that space. Like I'll be talking, let's say loudly in the kitchen, like asking him questions, and he'll respond, but it'll be like, That means that he's thinking about things. He needs a moment, and I need to not talk to him. I need to like clean the house. I need to get on my computer. I need to call somebody. I need to go on the balcony. I need to talk. I need to go to the gym.
Sure.
There's different things that I can do to understand that he's in a moment right now where he's trying to process or trying to work through some things that he doesn't need my help.
Wow.
For me, I get real like emotional. Like I started to like take everything personal when I'm going through something and I need space. And it's hard to say I need space. So it's more of like, he'll be like, what's up with you? And I'll be like, you know, and then it's just blah. And then it's like, then he knows. But sometimes he'll be like, all right, I see you're getting real, you know, sensitive right now. And I'm like, that's when I need it. So it's more of like learning each other's like what we're going through.
Yeah.
So just to studying each other, I would say studying each other, respecting each other's boundaries when you see those signs coming up.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's okay to verbalize and say, you need a minute.
I love
You know
respecting each other's boundaries, because I think each of us have our own boundaries, and at times we want to cross it, especially in the heat of an argument, or you're passionate about something and you want to get your point across. Then I think that's when respect oftentimes kind of dissipates, because you're so driven to get your point across, or you're so passionate about just being right sometimes, I think, right?
Everything is about practice, though. You have to practice respect. Like you have to practice. You have to practice the actions, right? So let's say you have an argument with your significant other or someone in your family, and it goes awry, meaning like you say things you don't mean, you guys, you know, gets real heated, you don't speak for a couple of days. What you have to do is unpack that, right? So if you love that person, you want to still be with that person, you still want to be in that person, you have to unpack, you have to talk it out first. You cannot just be like, act like nothing happened. And I think the best way to do that is through a phone call without video or text messaging, because you can get everything out. This is how I was feeling. This is why I exploded about that. It wasn't even about this moment. It was about 3 times ago when you didn't respect me, when you didn't hear me, when you didn't listen to me, you know, and that triggered me. And you start to give more context on why you're doing what you're doing, why you said what you said, why you did what you did. So I think learning from every argument that you have and trying to get better each time, that's what practice looks like. You're not going to be perfect, but being able to, you know, kind of come to the table and say, this is how I was feeling, this is how I was feeling, and not always have to get to you were wrong and you were right, but more of like, just for listen to understand. And if you listen to understand that in practice, the next time you won't have to do too much digging. You'll already know. You'll be like, the last time when I said that way, right? Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. That was hurtful. That was triggering. That was disrespectful.
Wow.
Because that person already told me that that's what that does. And sometimes people are intentional. So you got to really start to learn about that person's triggers and why they get upset. And then also
triggers. Can we say that for a second?
Yeah,
because there are certain things that will trigger me.
Yeah.
One of my triggers is lack of accountability. I would rather if you did something I don't love, own it. And then that helps me be able to accept it and move on. But that's a trigger for me. Like if someone starts making up excuses, I have such a hard time with that. And I have to really take a deep breath and say, Tania, calm down, listen, because that will instantaneously get me upset.
But you have to call that out too in a way that you're creating a safe space, right? So like
Yeah.
If you know that this person does not take accountability, you'll know when you can probably guess and be like, watch this. Because I do it in my head. I'll be like, let me ask. And the thing is, I'm over here, I'm like, let me ask him right now because I know he didn't take out the trash. I know he didn't sit it out. Did you take out the, you know what I mean? And then I know he's gonna be like, well, but so that's what I'm saying. You got to prepare, you got to be ready, but you also got to say like, nah, like, and I'm just obviously giving an example. If we, when we don't sit out the trash, we get, written up 6 to 9. Like, just remember, like, quick reminder, stuff like that. Like, more of like, it's, again, how you say it. You know what I mean? If you create a safe space, how you say it. And sometimes people, sometimes people just can't take accountability. So you have to decide whether you could deal with that person or not. You know what I mean? Or deal with that person not taking accountability.
Because you got someone who's going to constantly
like,
trigger you, then I guess you have to.
Yeah. And if you've communicated that those are your triggers and they still continue to cross that boundary,
then I guess it's time for
you got to reassess.
An evaluation. Yep.
Yeah.
Reassess.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and that's the script, folks. But hey, I got to read this because this was some gems that was dropped from me from a bishop that was passed along to me. It says, for her, she needs to be valued, protected, and loved. For him, he needs to feel appreciated, applauded, and respected. So there goes, folks. The script with Dr. Love.
Dr. Love. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.